the Deputy Prime Minister, Dominic Raab, has resigned. Okay. Now, of course, there was a huge amount of pressure over the bullying allegations that were made against him. There's been a very long investigation underway, and that report by the KC was delivered to the Prime Minister yesterday, but at 11:30 yesterday morning, and the big question was, well, what is going to happen as a result of that? People wanted the PM to get his skates on and reveal what he thought about all of that. Well, he hasn't had to sack Dominic Raab. He's resigned this morning. Our Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood, is here. Tom?
Yes, this was a 5-month investigation by Adam Tully KC. Got into the Prime Minister yesterday morning. This morning, of course, we saw in the papers a lot of criticism for the Prime Minister for, quote, dithering over a decision. But this was quite a lengthy investigation, quite a lengthy report, and less than 24 hours after it was handed in to the Prime Minister, we are now seeing a definitive decision. Writing in his statement, the Deputy Prime Minister has said that I'm writing to resign from your government. This is a letter sent from him to the Prime Minister, of course, adding that I called for the inquiry and undertook to resign if it made any finding of bullying whatsoever. I believe it is important to keep my word. So in that, Dominic Raab is not suggesting perhaps that it is the most extreme form of bullying, but any form of bullying whatsoever.
If that was the case, why didn't Dominic Raab saw the report yesterday? Why has it taken until this morning?
Well, that will be a question that many people will be asking, and frankly, it sounds like there has been some sort of negotiation, some sort of back and forth between Dominic Raab and the Prime Minister. We heard in many reports over the last few hours and into last night that Dominic Raab would fight to stay, and it seems like he has been fighting and discussing and making his case. One report said he was lawyered up to try and stay as Deputy Prime Minister and as Justice Secretary. Well, it seems like that effort has not been fruitful, and I would be very surprised if it wasn't Number 10 that was putting the pressure on this resignation rather than an entirely voluntary decision.
Well, we have got Dominic Raab's resignation letter there. It is on the screen for you if you are listening on the radio. And, Tom, this does make Rishi Sunak's job easier, doesn't it? Because all eyes were on him this morning, wondering what was taking him so long. It was going to be a test for a man that had promised a cabinet with integrity.
It is a massive test, and of course this isn't the first resignation or indeed firing from the cabinet that we have seen. First it was Gavin Williamson, who left after only a couple of months in Rishi Sunak's government. Then Nadeem Zahawi, of course, was let go from the government as well, and now Dominic Raab. It is starting to seem a little careless of the Prime Minister to be losing so many senior ministers. But it is important to note, within his statement, Dominic Raab does try to put forward how this isn't the biggest blot against him. He says that this report dismissed all but 2 claims levelled against me. So we know that there had been a big number of claims, and the report did dismiss the vast majority of them, but clearly 2 of those claims had been upheld by Adam Tully KC, and that's what did for Raab.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this is damaging for the Prime Minister, as you say. However, if this had carried on even till lunchtime today, never mind till Monday, as some people are saying, it could have proved even more damaging, couldn't it?
That's certainly true. If this had bled into, for example, the Sunday morning media round, a really big moment when, of course, those big TV shows on Sunday mornings, the Sunday papers, that could have been a very damaging moment for this government. It clearly needed to be wrapped up before then. I think it is important to note, however, that Dominic Raab continues in his letter to say that in setting the threshold for bullying so low, this inquiry has set a dangerous precedent. It will encourage spurious complaints against ministers and have a chilling effect on those driving change on behalf of your government and ultimately the British people. So whilst he has resigned, he is not resigning quietly. Clearly he feels a bit aggrieved by this process. Clearly he feels that the threshold for bullying set out by Adam Tully was too low in this case.
So there will still be conversations, despite the fact that Dominic Raab has now resigned, there will still be conversations about behaviour in the workplace. what should people be able to or meant to tolerate, but perhaps a relief, really, because what we could have seen if Raab did not resign or Rishi Sunak didn't ask him to step down is civil servants could have resigned over this. Those civil servants, at least some of them, will feel vindicated by this decision.
That's certainly true. We did see those claims in the papers, and ultimately that does raise some questions over this process as well. There are questions over how much political pressure the Prime Minister faced over this decision, or indeed Dominic Raab faced over this decision. Was this a decision made in terms of absolute what's right for the workplace and propriety and the rest of it, or was this more of a political decision in terms of what would look bad, what would look good, how this would play out in the country, in the wider country? We did, however, see some opinion polling in the last couple of days, notably 75% of the country saying that if Dominic Raab was found to have committed any bullying, he should resign. Given that this report apparently finds 2 counts of bullying and the weight of public opinion that has been expressed in those polls, it's hard to see how this could have gone particularly differently.
All right, so again, it's back to that.
Then it kind of ruins any chances of future.
Told to resign, hasn't it?
You choose to
well, I think that's undoubtedly what has happened. And you can see in the tone of his letter how Dominic Raab is warning against the sort of threshold for bullying being so low, warning that this might damage government in the future. Clearly, Dominic Raab is concerned that this has been, I don't want to use the words witch hunt, but perhaps this has been too pernicious of an investigation. It does seem through the tone of that letter that he was pushed rather than walked. And that's going to be interesting, in fact, what Dominic Raab says now from the backbenches. Of course, resigned from the government, still a member of Parliament, and a member of Parliament for actually what is quite a marginal seat now, facing the Lib Dems down in the southeast.